Hello, 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 and welcome to season 4. Another episode. We're knocking them down, knocking them down. I am your host, Ro Carter, with my amazing co-host, Rob Smith. How are you, sir?
I'm great. I'm great. I just got over the
You're
weirdest cold. I had a cold for like a month. It was so weird, but I'm finally like better now.
okay. You can breathe. The air, everything's
I can
flowing.
breathe. I'm not choking every 5 minutes. It was awful. It was like the worst. It was the worst cold ever.
I had a cold too, and when I came back from Boston, and it was in my chest, and so I do an Orange Theory, and then I'm on the treadmill. I'm like I can feel it like right there. I'm like just get out, just get
Yeah,
out. And
like, please come out.
so I understand it's that time of the year. Everybody's traveling, getting stuff. So I'm not. Listen, you can judge me. I'm gonna wear a mask. I don't care.
I
I,
did too, and everybody was looking at me like I'm a crazy person. I'm
I'm
like, I'm
not
just
getting.
going to give you what I got,
I
okay?
don't care. I don't want to be sick for a week or 2 weeks. I'm not. I'm not about that life anymore. Let's go. Anyway, how are you, Rob? What's going on new in your life?
I'm just over here raising this 5.5 month old boxer puppy, which is it's a
That's why.
challenge.
That's why I said when someone, I said this a couple of months back when you got the dog and it was a surprise for your birthday, and I was like, did they talk to you about that? Because rest in peace, your old dog passed away, but then you start living a different lifestyle, right? And then
Yeah.
it's like I don't have any responsibilities besides take care of myself. And then all of a sudden you're like, here, surprise,
The
surprise,
child.
surprise, you know. So you're still doing okay with it mentally.
I'm still okay with it mentally. She's actually starting to calm down a little bit. She's fully house trained. She's crate trained. Like,
Okay, all right, that helps. That helps. And you got to do all
she loves her new bed, so she kind of chill.
that.
It's been a process. She's we go to the dog park now. She has all her shots. So like life is getting better.
Okay, all right, a lot easier. A lot easier.
She's not peeing on pee pads in my house anymore. It's like we're back to normal.
Hey, can't beat that, right?
Can't beat that. How are you, Ro?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. What's going on new? I don't know. I might be moving again.
What? Leaving Miami?
Yes, wifey has an opportunity interviewing with San Francisco and San Diego.
Also, you'll be on my side of the world.
Yeah, but like, even though it is your side, it's not really your side. It's
It's
like
my side.
people say, "Oh, you're in New York." I'm like, "No, I'm in Buffalo." It's not the same. Not the same.
San Diego's close-ish.
Yes, way closer than San Francisco. So, she's in liking both companies, so we're seeing where that's going. There was a New York one, but she doesn't seem that that's going to happen. And also realizing how much money you have to make to live in New York again, like
Yeah.
to really live in New York, your 2 bedroom space gets a little smaller. When you go to New York, go a little smaller, and 2 dogs.
Pay for your money just is a little smaller.
Can you? So, we'll see. So now I'm just trying to I wake up every day and just, enjoy. You know what I said I'm going to do this time, because we moved a lot, is enjoy the amenities of the current place I'm at. So I want to start swimming more outside in the pool. Like, you don't really get those chances to do that,
Yeah.
in other cities. So that's one thing I'm going to take advantage of until I find out we're out of here. So that's it. Otherwise, living my best life. Can't wait I'm going to see the vampire movie tomorrow.
Oh yeah, me too. I
Yeah,
definitely.
I'm really excited about it. I didn't know he had like a twin brother now and all this other. So all this other stuff starting to come out now. So I'm really excited about it.
A lot going on.
Yeah. So anyway, let's start the show. We're gonna let Rob do it tonight because Rob decided to go with. I can't do a series mentally. I can't do like all the work that has to go in there. So I was like, Rob, if you want to pick this series, you gonna have to do the work. And so we're doing White Lotus season 3. Rob, take the helm. Thank you.
Yes. So, as you said, White Lotus season 3. I'm obsessed with this season. I have been talking about this season nonstop since it aired. I think by far of all 3 seasons so far, this is my favorite. Listen, I've had a few people battle me on it, and then as we got closer to the
I mean,
end,
the world will battle you on this, Rob.
I don't know. As we've gotten closer to the end of the season, and then the finale happened, there was a huge. I think, of course, there's like fans of each season, right? There's like big fans of each season, especially when you have characters like Jennifer Coolidge's character on season 2. But for me, this season was like a for Mike White to me from a writing perspective, this was like storytelling magic for me because the through line of this entire season, I think, was one encapsulated by the show, then by each family group or each group that was
Yeah,
there,
yeah. Uh-huh.
each individual character. So we saw the message or through line of the entire show resonate on a grand scale and then like on a small scale down to each person, right? So I thought it was like a writer's masterpiece. So for me, I was obsessed with this season. Season 3 opens up in Koh Samui, Thailand, and we're at the White Lotus, of course, again. And it opens with, and this is going to be a whole spoiler episode. So if you have not watched it, you may not want to watch this episode because we are about to spill all the beans. Just log out, okay? Log out because we're going to spoil some shit. But yes, it opens up and we see I don't even remember her son's name, Zion, who is the son of Belinda, who we've seen in prior seasons.
Season 1.
Yes, yes, season 1.
Working in the spa in season 1. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so we see Zion at speaking to a therapist in Thailand, and we hear some gunshots, etc., etc., and then we see a body floating in the water. Hence, we know the season opens up. We know there's going to be a death. We don't know who it is, who it is, who dies, but we know someone's dying, and there's gunshots ringing out at this resort in Thailand. And then we start to meet the cast of characters. You have Natasha Rothwell, who, again, as Ro mentioned, we met in season 1, who worked at the spa, and now she's here at this spa in Thailand to, I guess, to shadow some other workers at the spa there at their resort. And then we meet the next family, which I don't want to screw this up, Ro.
This is so easy, right? This is so.
We meet the Ratliff family. And the Ratliff family, which we meet the mother, who is played by Parker Posey, which is Victoria Ratliff. We meet the father. Do you know? Do you know all the character names? Because this is
yeah. I have everything. What you need?
I need the father's name. Give me the father.
It's Timothy Ratliff.
Yes, and then we have the daughter.
The daughter's Piper Ratliff.
Piper, and then we have the eldest son, which is played by Patrick Schwarzenegger. Saxon, and then we have the youngest son, which is Lachlan. Yes. So we meet the Ratliff family. Where are they from? North Carolina?
Yeah, I don't know.
But
yeah, North Carolina.
Yeah. So we meet the Ratliff family, and it was interesting to me how he introduced each set of characters, and if you paid close attention, you kind of already saw the storyline unfolding with respect to this overall overarching theme of the show, which I don't know if you want to talk about it at all first before we like dive into episode 1 where we're like meeting each person.
So I've never seen White Lotus.
You didn't watch it?
No, I watched this. I watched season 3. It's my first. This is my first.
What?
So what I like though is that I'm seeing it with fresh eyes.
Okay.
And so when I was reading a lot of Reddit posts and all this other stuff, people were hating on it, like, oh, comparing it. So I like that I'm not comparing it to anything because I haven't seen. I've seen like previews, like in casting for the other earlier seasons, but I've never seen a full season or maybe like a full episode. I've only seen like little hits. I was like, I'll catch up because I thought it was going to be ongoing with the same hotel. I didn't know it was going to change, so that might have changed how I would have viewed it. But I was like, you know what? I love Game of Thrones because when it was done, I'd wait and I just watched the whole thing, and I caught up to the final season, and that's what I wanted to do. But then I found out, oh no, every season's different. I'm like, oh, okay. So
yeah, they're all different, but they're all kind of interconnected.
Yeah, interconnected.
Yeah, which is the genius of this show. They're all interconnected. Even though they're at different White Lotus locations, there is a character that kind of carries over to the next season, and we kind of see that storyline pick up in the season that we're currently in. So I'll get to that as to how this intertwines with the previous season. But first, I want to kind of touch on the overarching message of this season. To me, it really focused on this idea, this Buddhist principle of like disconnecting from one's like self-identity, because that's kind of the destruction of self. Like when you try to define yourself by identity, and it leads you to bad practices or bad behaviors like promiscuity, alcoholism. All these things are the direct result of us trying to define ourselves by an identity, right? So I think he did a phenomenal job of establishing that, and us like subtly establishing it with all of the like groups of people that we start to meet and see in the first episode. How did you feel about the introduction to Natasha's character and her son, and then to the Ratliff family?
I mean, everything was slow at a good pace for me that you got a time to understand because the son doesn't come until later, but he's in the beginning, but then you realize who he is and the connection later on, and so I love the back and forth of that. Like, you see the person in one episode and then they catch up later on, which makes you forget how it started. Because I was like, oh, now I'm in the fifth, sixth episode. I'm like, oh, that's right. I was like, when's this scene going to come back together? And every time I see someone go to the spa, I'm like, oh, is this it? Is this it? Is this it? And that wasn't it. So for me, I agree your views, but I add some other things too with the dad, Timothy Ratliff. I kind of felt it dealt with a lot of like white fragility right now in terms of white men not being held accountable for their actions and what they do, and also just how they go about it. We're doing spoilers, but he gets caught up in some money laundering kind of scheme, and it goes bad. And I guess he's like, you know what, I really didn't know what it was going to do. I really had no part of it, and now his whole life is going to be ruined for it. And knowing, that he was descendant of, his great great grandfather was a governor, and then his dad was all these things in the town, and like generational wealth, and you're hearing that being spoke, and then it could be gone like that, and how he can't hold on to that. Whereas like people of color, like, man, we don't have, most of us don't have that generational wealth, and we just have to pick, by the bootstraps and do what we got to do and just get that hustle on. So he's so down that he's almost considering suicide and maybe taking his whole family out. And I was like, that's crazy to me. Like, you got to deal with the consequences and not being one.
We don't really discover all of that until the second episode, though, which I thought was.
Yeah. I'm gonna go over. Oh, sorry. You want to? I'm shooting around, but I'm just I'm just talking on some themes that I was like kind of seeing throughout the film. But yeah, if you want to just do it by episode, or how do you want to break it down?
Yeah, let's do it by episode because I thought it was so well structured and it was so well done. And like you said, the subtlety of how he like intertwined the messaging was so intricate that I think it's kind of paramount that we go episode by episode because I'm a little obsessed with it. So yes, we meet the Ratliff family, and one thing that I thought was like really key about how he introduced the family is we see this kind of the struggle with identity in the introduction of Lachlan, and they show how this like narcissistic family is like struggling with identity through their youngest son. So when they introduce him, we kind of see, and I think it was like overall we kind of see that theme of the entire series through Lachlan too, right? Because when they introduce him, they talk about how he got accepted to Chapel Hill, which is where the mom and the sister graduated, and then he also got accepted to Duke, which is where the father and the older brother got graduated from. So
and if anybody doesn't know that is huge. Like, you pick one of those are the two things that literally divide nations down there. Even Duke and North Carolina. There's nobody like both.
So we kind of see this conversation of like him battling between the masculine side of his identity and the feminine side of his identity. Immediately we get that kind of conversation, and then it moves into which room is he going to stay in? Is he going to stay in the room with his older brother, or is he going to stay in the room with his sister? Because now that he has adult parts, he shouldn't stay with his sister. Like, it's this whole conversation of his masculinity versus femininity, his like
manhood, yeah.
Exactly, his manhood versus womanhood. That's this whole conversation of his identity comes up as the introduction to their family, and we see how important that is for them. And then we meet the next set of friends, which is the three female friends, which is Jocelyn, Lori, and Kate, which are a group of friends, which is led by. I'm so bad at this word. You're so much better at this.
I got it. What do you mean?
But
Megan Monaghan plays Jacqueline,
who's played by Michelle Monaghan, and she's a famous actress. She's on a TV show, and now she's treated her friends from that her childhood friend, she's treated them to this trip to Thailand to a resort so that they can like catch up and reestablish their relationship. The friends are played by Carrie Coon, who plays Lori. One second.
And Lizzie Bibb played Kate, played by Lizzie Bibb.
Yes, exactly. Give me 1 second, Ro.
All right. TV and the brave, get a brave. Dog's wilding out. That's what's going on, everybody. Dog was wilding out. Do 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 do. Play you some music. Uh, uh, uh,
Apologies, that was so ghetto. My dog ran out of the door. My dog outside. Okay. Whew. Okay. Yes. So we meet the three friends again, which is Jocelyn and Lori, played by Carrie Coon, and then Kate, played by Leslie Bibb. And they are a collective of friends who are at this point three blonde white women who are kind of indistinguishable from one another. They're like this blob of the same human being. But as the show progresses, we start to see the intricacies of each character and the differences between each character. But I'll let you talk a little bit about the introduction of that group for you as well.
Yeah, so we kind of find these three ladies. They all look the same, but attractive, older, and they're on their girls' trip. And we've all been on vacation, and you see a gaggle of women, and you're like, oh, God, here we go. But they weren't in that party mode. There's two sets of women as you get older. There's like, girl, let's go in party modes or bachelorette parties. And then you have the other groups that are more like, hey, we're just going to have a good time, treat ourselves a spa, not late night party and stuff like that. So when you have an actress there as the head, it's always going to be people coming up and all that. So you kind of see that play throughout the show. But everybody was still like, just chill and catching up. In catching up, though, especially, which I kind of, I don't know what kind of relationship you have with your guy friends or just friends in general. But I love catching up with my boys I haven't seen in a while. And sometimes we have deep conversations about, hey, man, how's your life going? How's stuff like that. So I kind of like when you see that on TV. Women get deeper. I don't think guys get as deep, but we also don't hold stuff as emotional as some people do. So you get to see the emotions of how life is kind of like affecting them, meaning their work-life balance. Carrie Coon's character, Lori, is going through a divorce. Leslie Bibb's character is really into faith, but she's an executive in Texas. She's living a whole different lifestyle with her family. And so catching up with your girls, you really open up a little bit more. But you don't really know because you're only hearing one side, right? Sometimes you're just kind of fluffing it up so no one judges you. But at the end, you hope to open up to really get to know that person who you knew, when you were younger. And so that's always hard sometimes because you're trying to live in this facade of like who, or the impression of who you left them as. And so I kind of love that they dug a little deep on that.
Yeah, and I like that too. Like that you brought that up. It was like this introduction of them. Where we see like the superficial interaction because they haven't seen each other in so long. So it's like, oh my God, you look so good. Like, where did you get your work done? Oh, I don't have your work done. You look so good. You look so good. And it was so interesting, right? Because Jacqueline and Kate's character were like, oh, you look so beautiful. You look so beautiful. You look so good. And they were kind of leaving out Carrie Coon's character in that first moment. And they were like, oh, you look great too.
Yeah.
It was just so interesting, like seeing the dynamics of the relationship. And you can kind of see the power dynamic in the relationship, right? Because we know that Jacqueline's character is obviously like the most successful. She's a celebrity. She's well known. She's the one who's paying for the trip for everyone. So her life, from the view from an outside seems to be perfect, right? So we kind of see that dynamic, and we start to see the cracks in the relationship, though, because like whenever one woman leaves the room, then the other two start to like gossip about the other. So we kind of start to see the truth of the relationships. As the season
and that's the difference with guys and girls. Sometimes like guys like we'll say it right to you, man, you look like crap. Like, we're not gonna sugarcoat like, man, what you need to stop drinking, brother. You look awful. Like, we'll say it straight, but it's when I'm like, no, you look great, and then later on, like, you look hot, a hot mess. And so you see that throughout the show. It's pretty funny.
Yes, and then we also meet Rick Hatchett, who is played by Walter Goggins, and his young girlfriend, who to me is a little bit obsessed with him, who is Chelsea, who is played by Amy Lou Wood. So we meet these characters as well, and we find out very quickly that that Rick's character has come to the resort because he's has some unfinished business. He thinks that the owner of the resort is responsible for the murder of his father. So we quickly find out that he has ulterior motives for why he's actually come on this trip.
He has an agenda, and
he has an agenda, right? And then we also meet some of the workers from the hotel. We meet. So, Ro, how do you do this?
I told you, bro.
Ro, I'm gonna leave this to you. We meet Mook, who is played by Lasisa Manobo. Is that how you pronounce it?
Sure, let's go with that. And
and
Time Tabatong. He plays Guy Talk, and he's the security guard there.
Yes, Guy Talk is a security guard at the hotel, and Mook is a performer, and she also. I don't even really know what her other responsibility was.
Well, she's locally during the day. She's an employee, around the grounds. But then at night, she also performs as well. So
yeah,
there's a flirtatious thing back and forth. That's cute. But then later on, it gets a little like, "Yo, what's up, man?"
There's a budding romance.
Yeah, she was gangster though. Later, I was like, "Damn, that hurt me." I was like, "Damn, girl." But anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Yes, and then we meet Valentine, who is played by Arnas Fedorovicius, who is a Russian employee of the hotel, and he's there. He does treatments like massage therapy and other forms of treatment for guests in the hotel.
Ladies, he does treatments.
He does treatments, and he catches the attention of course, our three blonde friends.
Because one is recently single.
Yes, as one is recently single. So that's kind of like the overarching introduction to all of the characters. But then immediately we have drama because there's a robbery in the boutique of the hotel, which we see occurs when Guy Talks at the gate, speaking with Valentine, and a car speeds past the gate, and two guys jump out and they rob the boutique at gunpoint. Inside of the boutique is Chelsea. She's in the boutique shopping at the time, and she feels that she has had a brush with death. So this is our first encounter with a little bit of mayhem and mischievous and mayhem at the resort. So how did you walk away from episode 1? I know you said it was slow moving.
Well, again, it's my first time watching the show, so I'm trying. Keep in mind, I try to watch the first 2 episodes like 6 times because I fell asleep through everything. Because it was there's a pace and music, tropical views, certain colors, kind of like just like put me out. So anyway, when I finally got through the first episode, I was like, oh, I like this. It reminded me of when I used to live in Hawaii, and so just the resorts there were very like pleasing of nature, and just being that relaxed and calm and really just enjoying that time, like giving your phone away and just be like, hey, I'm here in the moment and kind of enjoying that. So I love that. I was like, I need to take a vacation again. That's what I felt. I was like, man, I need to go on vacation.
Oh my God.
Am I adding anything else to that?
Ro, I thought you were going to talk a little bit more. Okay, cool.
Well, again, you just asked me how that episode was. I was like, they established the characters.
Ro, I'm bad at taking the lead.
Okay. We established the characters. Listen, this is your outline. I just go to rob.com and robblackphone.com. Yes. So again, the establishing all the characters, not all the characters, but some of the main characters in the first episode. So it intrigues you to the second episode, which I like that I could see and kind of get an idea of like, hey, okay, what is the main storyline of this? Something's going to happen. When is it going to happen? We've already seen a little action. what's are we gonna find out that the connection later or in the next episode? How's that gonna unfold? So I'm intrigued. I'm bought in. Okay, we've seen a little couple of things go down. Um, I don't know if I have a character that like I'm rooting for, and that was the biggest thing on Reddit. Like everyone's like, I hate this character. Oh, this character's annoying. This character was this. There was no one to root for, but I didn't need to root for anybody in this character because I was seeing the story unfold.
Was
That
there a
makes sense.
character that you identify with most when you saw this, like the collective of people hitting the resort?
Well, so for instance, a lot of things on Reddit. Well, two things. One, Gatok, the employee, he gets knocked upside the head when the robbery happens, and so now they're thinking about bringing a gun on board. And so, with that being said, him and his relationship with Mook get closer in terms of like, oh my God, you're such a man, you're so brave. And he was like, if she would have saw the video, he wasn't really brave. He was got knocked upside the head. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But the conversation has started with, hey, you know what we need to be better at this. Okay, but he's fighting with his inner person of being like, hey, you know what? I'm more about Buddha and in terms of respecting people and not, I don't want to harm anyone. And I'm like, you're probably in the wrong job as security if you don't want to harm anybody. Just letting you know. So I really love that character because he was so innocent in terms of like, he just wanted to do good. And it's nice when you still see that there's people out there on this planet that are like that. Also
Yeah.
oblivious to about what's going on as well sometimes. I'm like, you can't be both. You can't be nice and oblivious about, hey, because that's how you get taken advantage of. So I think I think we know, at least I know a couple of people in my life like that. And I'm like, oh man, I love that innocence, but also I know that it can lead to some bad things down the way. And then also the Walter Goggins, Rick, and Chelsea's character. A lot of people on Reddit were complaining I hate her so much because what woman would just like follow this guy all around who doesn't have any interest at all? And I'm telling you, I know a couple of relationships and now they're good, but it's always about the beginning of something, right? You really have to see who this partner is. And I think that's about every character here, right? They really don't know who they are until later something happens and they're like, wow, where am I at in my life? And again, I'm not saying it always goes the right way, but just more of that, like living in the moment and be like, well, I might need to change some things for the future. So I kind of like that balance of that relationship.
Yeah, what I really love too is again you start to see how that through line that we talked about earlier kind of resonates with each character, where everybody kind of has this like overarching idea of themselves, of what their identity is, and we start to see like how that defines the way that they perceive themselves and perceive the world around them, which was really interesting because again, I think the thing that I fell in love with about this season was like how each individual character was so nuanced and was so specifically crafted around their identity. And some of them were like really, really loud, right? So we, for example, the oldest son, who was played by Patrick Schwarzenegger, Saxon, like we really see how he's rooted in this idea of masculinity and this idea of being like the perfect son, even though we can tell underneath it all, like you can tell he's not happy. Like there's something there that is screaming that this
He's
man
really
is
insecure. He's really insecure.
He really feels this desire to please his father. He has to outwardly like show his masculinity through his body. He has to try and dominate every woman that crosses his path sexually. He just really has to outwardly show his masculinity. And then we see him kind of trying to force that on his brother. And to me, it's really interesting because the character that I really like fell in love with was Lachlan. And it was because to me, he was like this like doe-eyed little child who was really trying to find his footing in the world. And they talk about it later and when he meets the Buddhist, but we'll talk about that much, much later. To me, Lachlan is that drop of water that is like just now separating from the ocean, right? So he doesn't really know who he is yet. He's trying to define himself with his identity, and he has all of this influence from the outside world coming in, trying to help him decide who he is, and he's trying to figure it out for himself. So we like really quickly see that, and for me, that's the reason why I really like latched onto Lachlan's character really early on. because it was just interesting to watch his journey from the lens of someone who was like so inexperienced in this world of people around him who were all fully developed.
Yeah, and also Lachlan, he's very impressionable, right? And so he's like, oh, my older brother does it. That must be cool. But he's also fighting with like his own identity as well, right? And so
Yeah.
I love later on when you kind of see, he says something, not giving the scenes away, but he says, I'm a people pleaser at the end of the day. And so knowing that is like, oh, it's hard for me to say no, or when I see you down, I want to just cheer you up. And now it might be crazy how I do it, but you know, to each his own,
And we don't have to go episode by episode because we already are 31 minutes in. We still on
Okay,
episode.
we
So let's
can
just
jump around.
Yeah, we can jump around a little bit.
Where do you want to? So you want to fast forward to relationships in terms of Rick getting closer to planning to see his dad?
Yeah, let's just
find out about his dad, or do you want to go more into Gary and Belinda's character and how they?
Yeah, because I think that kind of defines how what drives the story, right? Because that kind of happens in one of the next episodes. We see Belinda quickly recognize that she knows one person who is at the resort from a past experience. So, and this kind of goes back to everyone's favorite character from previous seasons, which is Tanya, who is played by Jennifer Coolidge. We see Greg, who who Belinda recognizes as being the husband of Tanya, who was the woman who was supposed to help her fund starting her own spa, right? And then Tanya ends up dead. Spoiler alert! In season 2, she drowns, and it's assumed, or they believe that there was foul play in the death of Tanya, and that her husband may have been responsible for this taking place. And that is Greg, who has now changed, or his name in the other seasons is what, Gary?
Yeah.
So he changes the name, moves to Thailand. She runs into him at the resort, and now she's nervous because she sees him, and she knows that he may recognize her. And
not until she's not sure, because she goes up to him, remember? And she goes, "Hey, are you so and so?" And he's like, "Nope, it's not me." And then it hits. She's like, "No, I know it's." And then she's like, "Oh, it is him." And then she realized, and that unfolds to something else later.
Absolutely. So she runs into him. She goes and does a little bit of research, and she quickly realizes that he might have been responsible for the death of his wife, who was supposed to fund her spa. So now she's a bit nervous that she's in the same location as him, and he now recognizes who she is. So that starts to inform the storyline of Belinda's character, which is now what a lot of people are suspicious. Okay, now we have a motive for a person who could have been killed at the resort, because we know that Greg is potentially trying to cover up the murder of Tanya, and he knows that Belinda's character now knows that he's there, and she has a reason to suspect that he's responsible for her death. How did you feel about that? The introduction of that to the season, being that you know about that before you?
I've never seen. I saw Coolidge in like one. I just heard that she was in it, and I saw her like running around sashaying, but I didn't know the depth of that relationship, and so, or who was married to who, and and all that. So I'm learning that at the same time. I'm like, oh wow, and now I'm asking myself too at the same time, like. I don't know if you do that, but when I see a character, I kind of put myself through that situation. Like, what would I do if I was, in that situation? Would I like rat him out? Would I try this conversation? Or, with shows nowadays, you could get killed, right? So I was like, oh, girl, you better watch your back. I didn't know what was going to happen, because she was also worried for her life as well. And I kind of like how they put Gary off in the distance, because his girlfriend, Chloe, she winds up befriending befriending Chelsea, and they become close friends because they're both dating older guys, and they're like, hey, let's talk. And so in doing so, you see Gary from a long distance, and he's just sitting there, and he looks cold and just like angry and just like not happy at all. And so that was a great zoom, distance cam on him, so you kind of get an idea, like, oh, I don't know what's up with this guy, right? Do I trust him? Is he coming from a good heart, or is he being evil? But Chloe's so much full of energy and life, so it's like, oh, why would somebody with life and energy be around somebody. You find out later you got some money. So that does help a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. It does help a little bit.
And you know what's so interesting? A lot of people online are obsessed with Chelsea's character, and they really, really love Chelsea's character, and they feel like she's this innocent. I don't know. She's this innocent, like doe-eyed woman running around after a man who's troubled. And for me, that was another introduction that I think Mike White made to this idea of identity, right? Her whole world identity was built around being the partner to this troubled man. Like that was her identity. And she made it very clear on multiple occasions, like, if I can't be with you, like I'm going to be with you until the day I die. And when I die, I'm going to hunt you from the afterlife because I'm always going to be with you. Like that was her identity. Her identity was wrapped around him. So it was very, very intertwined with his life, even though we all knew that there was something fishy going on with him because he was like extremely rude to her, disrespectful to her, very aloof, not always being honest with her, and she would get tidbits of information from him based on his interactions with other people at the resort, right? So the way that he interacted with the resort owner. So when she overhears his conversation with her about where her husband is, and oh, he's in Bangkok, I was expecting to be here. So she's starting to figure out that there's an ulterior motive to why he brought her there, but she doesn't fully even know everything. So for me, it was really interesting kind of watching the development of her story and how so many people latched onto her. But for me, I was like, I don't know. I don't like that she's so invested in this man to the point where she like puts herself in harm's way constantly, because that's kind of when we come up on the point where they start to explore Thailand outside of the resort, and they go to.
Never go outside the resort, people. Stay in the resort. You're never good outside the resort.
They go to like a snake show, and what did he take?
She almost dies like 2 or 3 times. I mean, it's crazy.
They go to like a snake show, and he gets high and decides to release all of the snakes that are in captivity. And she ends up getting bit by a poisonous snake, which is her second brush with death. Which is where a lot of the chatter online started to come across. Like, could she be the person who dies then? Because like she said death comes in threes, and we've already had 2 bouts with it. So she says that after she gets bitten by the snake. One, because she was in the store for the robbery at gunpoint, and then she gets bitten by the snake. So then that becomes a conversation as well. But for me, I was like, interestingly enough, I was kind of in that same mindset too, because I'm like, she's so invested in this man. Like she's not understanding the idea of like releasing herself from this identity that she's built for herself, which is again kind of that overarching theme of the show. Like if you attach yourself to an identity, it's going to be the destruction of self, because you go down a path of like promiscuity and alcoholism and drugs and all these bad things, right? So when everyone was like obsessed with Chelsea online, I was like, I don't know, because she's attached.
Well, again, it's just the innocence of who she is, and just spiritual wise, and she's like invested in that way. Like, hey, you know what? she's finding the good in everybody. So everybody wants that person around them. Like, oh, she brings joy and everything, positive energy. So it's hard sometimes. Where your couple, your significant other is always like a Debbie Downer. And she's always like chipper no matter what. Like, oh, it'll be fine. I'll get you a donut. It's like anyway.
Yeah, and then we also start to see again the cracks in the relationship between the 3 blonde friends. So we learn that Jacqueline is concerned about her relationship with her partner at home because they don't have a lot of time together. So we're starting to learn that may not be as strong as we thought it was. And then we learn that the friend who lives in Texas, Kate, is a Republican Trump supporter, and that conversation comes up at dinner. Right. And they all start to realize that maybe they are not, they don't have as much in common as they thought they did. And we start to see the cracks in that relationship start to form. And they previously had really thrown Lori under the bus when they had the conversation about her, where they talked about her daughter kind of being off the rails. They were like, oh, she throws things, and she had been at her job for a really long time. She never made partner, and her marriage didn't work out. So they kind of aired her dirty laundry as well. So we start to realize that these women aren't the perfect shell that they've kind of created themselves to be. And what was interesting is they also, did you recall when they were at dinner, they went to that first dinner show, and there were the dancers that had the mask on, but then there were other dancers that were the body parts. And they were like, oh, this reminds me of when we did that dance when we were kids. And Jacqueline is like, what time? And the other two women are like, where you were the face and we were the body. She's like, remember, we were the hands. And she's like, and she was the feet and you were the face. And she's like, no, I don't remember that. But it was such a pivotal memory for the other two women as to how they started to see themselves as being different from her character, and how she started to break out from them as being like the beautiful one who everybody recognized as beautiful. And then she goes on to be this uber big celebrity, right? So I think that was interesting as well, because we start to see the dynamic of that relationship fall apart.
Yeah.
And also, this is around the time that they start to really push Valentine on her, because they're like, oh, she's the single one. You should hook up with him, telling Lori, oh, you should hook up with him. He's the single one. You know, book an appointment with Valentine. You should spend time with him, because the other two women were in relationships and she's the single one. So we start to see that dynamic unfold as well. And then they go on an experience outside of the hotel, because they asked Valentine to introduce them to something to do outside of the resort. And he takes them to the other resort that's full of old people.
Yeah, that was funny. Hustling. My husband just died, you know, and you look around, you're like, what the hell is going on here? And it's a resort just of old people either retiring or they're living off, they're, you know, trying to keep that energy going, that was kind of interesting too, because it reminded me of like when I was on a cruise and you meet older folks. Like, hey, I just do cruises all the time because I have nothing else to do in my life, but it keeps me going. And sometimes people just need to be surrounded by people that have dealt with this same form of grief, and they don't know how to really process it. So it's like, hey, what better way than to be around people that are going through this same thing, and maybe we can build a support system and kind of keep going.
But it was so interesting, right? Because this is, I think, the first time that we kind of see an extreme negative side of Jacqueline, in my opinion, because she starts to realize that nobody in the space, the people there aren't the type of people who she wants to recognize her, and she's not getting the type of attention she wants.
Well, she's an actress. I mean, I didn't expect this. I knew the actress would come out sooner or later. You know, it's going to happen. You know, I'm waiting for like, oh, there it is. Boom, got it. Yep. Yeah, I mean, you know, we both live. You live in LA. I live in LA. You know, it's like Hollywood gonna come out at some point. You know, I didn't work all this time and get to this status to not be catered to and get a little, hey, oh my God, you know, come on, baby girl. That's why you put the work in.
Absolutely.
There you go. See, Rob knows. Rob knows.
Well, it's not why you put the work in. I'm just joking. It's definitely not. Ro, come on now.
I'm sick. I'm sick.
And then, like you mentioned earlier, this is also around the time that the Ratliffs, well, the father finds out that he's being, his name has been pulled into a fraud investigation that's pretty much going to be the end of his reputation, his business, and his wealth. But lucky for him, the resort requires that everybody turn over their cell phones and their laptops. And this is the perfect opportunity for him to kind of force the family to get rid of everything so that they don't actually know what's going on with him. And we start to see him spiral, and he starts to become dependent on the drugs that his wife takes in order to stay calm and mellow and relaxed throughout the show.
That was a weird conversation. That was so weird too. Like, you're taking your wife's drugs and she's losing her mind. And I'm like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? If my partner needs those drugs to be sane, I'm going to let you have it. You know, I don't care how bad I'm going through it. I'm like, you know, and then he lied to her about it. It's like, oh, you got it. You must have lost it somewhere. There's no way. And I'm like, you're playing games. It was just so many games going on, manipulation going on. It was very weird. Parker Posey's character, any character she's done lately, she's just like knocks it out of the park. She is that person. I've seen that person. I've met that person. You know, we all have. You're just like obnoxious, doesn't care about anybody else. Like, why are you talking to me? Like, you know, when Kate's character sees her at breakfast And she goes, "Oh, hey, we were on this retreat together. Do you remember?" But she goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, and that was it. And she's just like looking at her like, really, nothing more? And then she leaves, and her kid's like, "Mom, like, what was up with that? That was so rude." She's like, "What do you want me to talk to her about a retreat that we were on like years ago?" Well, like, well, I have nothing in common with this person. Like, what are we supposed to do? And so Jacqueline is not, her character isn't to that extent, but Victoria is like, do not touch, unless you're making this and come from a good background and family, I don't want to talk to you. And so get out of my, unless I'm talking to you. And you see that later when they're invited on the boat, she's talking to people and she kind of has loose lips and she just says whatever's on her mind. It's like, oh, you really, you love him? I was like, whoa, Victoria.
Yes. Yeah, because that was like kind of the first time too that we see the level of superficial that she is, and the level of superficial that she the expectation she puts on her kids. She's like, you're all beautiful, you come from money, like you don't need to talk to anybody.
You'll be okay.
Yeah, you'll be okay. You don't need to talk to anybody else because they all are going to want something from you. So the only thing that's important to her is like being rich and being beautiful. Like that's all that's important. If you have those things, then you don't need anything else.
Also, there's a selfishness in the relationship too of the family, and there's different levels of the selfishness. But the youngest daughter, the reason why they're out there is because she's trying to do her research on her thesis, and she wants to see this Buddha guy, and like she wants to spend time. But the real thing is she actually wants to do a year after graduation, and so the family traveled all the way out to Thailand, which the dad, she winds up telling them later, but as a dad dealing with all the stress, like I could have handled this at home. Like, I can't, no, seriously, it's like, it's easy to do it versus I'm in a whole different country, different time zones. I'm trying to figure everything out. Like what? And the only thing I didn't believe is that the kids are very savvy to put their phones away and not look up anything, like go online in the resort or anything, and not know what was going on back home. Like that was crazy to me. Like none of the kids knew like your dad was going through this stuff. Like that.
Yeah.
There's no way. No way.
Because he wasn't going through it before they left. That's
no, I know, but even then, while they're there, again, they gave their phones away. But I just know how kids are. They're going to find some technology at some point somewhere and be like, "Oh, wait a minute, this is coming up, Dad. What you know what this is about?" His oldest son, he's in that kind of realm of work as well. Like he didn't have any of his boys like texting him like, "Hey," or emailing him like, "Hey, yo, what's up with your dad?"
Well, he didn't have his phone. Like they gave their phones away.
I know, but my point is that it just
like,
they would have
found a way to get.
That's what I'm saying.
I think he protected himself from that by making like the whole retreat was like.
Yeah, I get it. But that's my only knock of anything. That's the only thing I'm like, yeah. Kids are so addicted to like you. Oh my god, ripping a phone out of a kid. Oh, you might die. You might die. You might literally die. You might die.
Yeah, so. And yes, I think that's a good transition to here, because we do find that we know that Piper says she's there because she was there to do a thesis project, but then we find out she's really there because she like you said, she wants to do a year there at this Buddhist retreat, because she's kind of on this search to find if she can exist in a world where she doesn't have she doesn't want to be a princess. She wants to find out if she can live in this in a world free of all these things, like free of identity, kind of the whole idea of the whole premise of the show. She's trying to see if she can free herself of the things that her family has found to be like deemed to be important in life, all things that she seems to think are like invaluable, right? So she's going on this journey, and interestingly enough, we see, like I said, this is kind of why I latched onto Lachlan, because we see Lachlan kind of stuck between the two, because he's trying to decide, should he go on this journey with his brother for the pursuit of like masculinity and manhood and having sex with one of the women at the retreat because his brother keeps telling him that's what he needs to do, or should he go with his sister to meet the Buddhist and kind of find out what that side of the world is about. And we hear him talk about that a little bit later when he asks his brother, are we here? Do we exist in this world so that we can become better people for the next life? So I think that really resonated with me, and that's why that character for me.
But his brother wasn't even ready to have a conversation like that, because he was
definitely not ready for that conversation.
So it's like that's the worst part when you're trying to talk to somebody about a deeper level of consciousness, and they're not even in the room of consciousness. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Like drink a smoothie, shut up. It's like, all right,
And this was kind of the chatter online too. Everybody was so invested in the relationship between Saxon and Lachlan because everyone was like, "Oh my God, is this going to be an incestuous relationship?" Because we do see a hint of it when they're in the room together and Saxon goes to masturbate in the bathroom and he leaves the door open and Lachlan's kind of watching a little bit, and then Saxon closes the door before he starts pleasing himself. But again, I don't think, for me, when I viewed that, I wasn't looking at it as if Mike White was trying to create this dynamic where it was like an incestuous relationship. I think, again, it was like this discovery for Lachlan of
teenage curiosity, like, hey, I'm becoming a man. What does this mean? I don't know what I'm doing. So why? That's what you do. Okay,
exactly.
All right, cool. So I didn't take it that way. I just didn't like the balance of the family. I mean, I think we all have an idea of what an ideal family is, and then the fact that you couldn't have an open conversation, like no one's having an open conversation and being truthful about what their goals are, right, and what they want to do. Like, and we have to find it out later. It's like the dad is just like all over the place. The daughter's like trying to be like, hey, I want to do this later. Like, have the conversation. I didn't. They kind of, it was a make believe, pretend kind of like environment where the kids had space to be who they were, but not really, because the kids were never comfortable enough in their own skin to be open about it. And then even when even the Saxon and Piper's relationship, he's like, oh, you're the young, he just kept her hitting upside the head with a book when she'd say anything, like, what are you talking about? And he was like, well, your brother's making fun. Lachlan's like, your brother's making fun of you because he said you're a virgin. It's like, but why are you talking about that, right? It's just like, your family, like, don't make it weird. And so there's always these weird innuendos in and out throughout. Siblings do that, but also there should be some kind of love there if the family is what they are. So that's what was missing. And maybe that divide is because half of them went to Duke and half of them went to North Carolina.
Yeah, but I think they were all also like living up to this false idea of what they were supposed to be. And I think that was the problem too with that family in particular. Like, their whole sense of self-worth was wrapped up in them being wealthy and beautiful and smart and better than everyone else. And that was kind of the identity of the family, right? And Lachlan was the only one who kind of saw through it. And I think we see Piper trying to battle with it because she doesn't want to be a part of it. And we see Lachlan going like, yeah, I'm in a house full of narcissists, but that's just, the reality of, the existence I live. Right. So yeah, I think that was an interesting dynamic because you have the mom who's always like drugged out because that's the only way she can get through the day is to be drugged out. And then the father is now drugged out because the only way he can get through the day, because he realizes that he's losing everything, is to be drugged out. And the kids are detached because the oldest son is, again, a narcissist who only cares about his appearance of masculinity and dominating women around him, and the sister who wants to detach herself completely from the identity of his family. So it was a very, very interesting group, the Ratliffs.
Yeah, you're just like, what the hell is going on with this family?
And then another interesting group too was back to Gaitak and Mook, right? So Gaitak is obsessed with Mook. He's in love with her. He wants to woo her, but he also is attached to this idea that he is like, he can't be, he exists in a space of like spirituality and nonviolence. So he's a security guard, but he's nonviolent. So he tries to apologies. This is so ghetto today. I'm so sorry. Yes. So he exists in a space where he's a security guard and he believes in nonviolence. He's very spiritual, where Mook is telling him like, there's more to life. You could be one of the security guards for the owner of the hotel.
Yeah, you can aspire to be something more than what you are.
Exactly. You can be something more than you are. You can travel the world with her. You can do all of these things, but you can't conform to this idea of who you're supposed to be. So she's trying to push him out of his comfort zone.
But also in pushing him out of the comfort zone, Mook is also challenging him, like, what type of man she wants, right?
Yes.
And you get that vibe too. She's like, yeah, I need a man. Like, at first it's cute, and then she's like, listen, dude, I need you to have some security in what you're doing. Even though we live in Thailand, I need you to have a good job. It's like, Mook, what's this coming from? What's going on?
She want a man.
Yeah, like, I thought we were cool, baby girl. Like, what you doing? She's like, no, I need actually a man who has aspirations in life. And I'm like, like, it'll work out. I'll find another job. I was like, but you're gonna start all over again? Yeah, I work hard. I'm a hard worker. I was like, she's like, and I felt that one. I was like, damn,
Yeah.
that's
And
like,
then this is around the time we have the
cookies for
introduction.
you, player. No cookies for you.
And this is around the time we have the introduction of the gun because the boutique was robbed. Now they bring the gun to the security for the hotel, and Gaitak is responsible for the gun that's at the security station at the front gate.
This is when it gets a little crazy.
Starts to
So
get here.
he's gonna train with his gun later on, but now he has the gun in the booth. And Timothy Ratliff is all over the resort with his phone still. He still hasn't given his phone up yet. And so later on he does when he finds out things are getting really crazy. But he used this time to get almost to the gate of the resort. And because Gatok is in love, he's just all over the place, walking around. Worst security guard ever, by the way. And he should have been fired like twice.
He should have. He definitely should have.
That's a whole other conversation. But he's a nice guy. And so in doing so, he leaves his post. One job. You have one job. Stay at your post. Leaves his post. And I guess Timothy Ratliff sees the gun just sitting there in the little booth, and he takes it from them. And so now that's part of 1 or 2 episodes where Gatak is trying to figure out what happened to the gun, who has it, and how he's going to get it back. And that's an interesting conversation. I thought about, like, okay, so I'm thinking, like, oh, you gotta have video, right? And I'm like, okay, and then he finally figures that out. But like, how am I getting this? Like, how am I asking a member of the resort? Because now if I rat myself out, I'm gonna lose my job because I lost the gun. The person in the resort has the gun, so I didn't even like his approach on how to get it. I know you have something. Like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't. And then that was it. I was like, what? I was like, that's your conversation? He has your. What are you talking about?
He's non-violent, bro.
Bro, that's how you listen. We got you on videotape. I need you to give me what you have now.
Give me the gun.
Or that's you will be escorted out of here. No, ain't gotta say no words, player. Ain't gotta say no words. Keep it clean. But I was like, come on, bro. Like, that's what she's talking about. I need you to check it. Check him. Check him.
Check him.
That drove me insane. Anyway. So now the dad has a gun, and the dad is contemplating suicide. He's thinking of killing himself in so many different ways, killing the family because they're not happy. I can't live without you. So you're seeing all these scenarios play in his head. So at one point, I'm like, oh, damn. And he doesn't wind up doing it because it's just a scene in his head of him dreaming about it. So he's
What was interesting to me, though, was that at first we see him battling with this, and then we come back to this idea of identity, right? Because he's flirting with the idea of killing himself, and then his wife wakes up in the middle of the night, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And he has this whole speech about how his entire life he's had to be like the provider and the protector, and like he's been wrapped in that, and now he's gonna pray. Like now he has to figure out what to do. And that was interesting because to me, that was like the moment that he had this realization that, you know what?
That rock bottom moment, you know?
Yeah, he had that rock bottom moment. And for him, it was like, life is bigger than this. Like what is the priority in my life? Like I've spent my entire life building to this and it's all gone in an instance. Like what is the priority? Like what's most important? And I think that's when he starts. Yeah, because he's already flirting with the idea of death. Like, how do I get out of this? How do I deal with this? Because now my family, who I know is rooted in this idea that they're only valuable if they have money and beauty and success, they don't know that they don't have that anymore. Like, what do we do? How do we move forward?
And I'm like, you guys didn't try to charge anything to the. Come on! I was waiting for her to say, like, oh, our card's not going through. Like, I was waiting for it. Nothing. Never happened.
You trying to find all the holes, bro.
Come on, man. I was like, come on, man. Come on. They're going to freeze your assets? Come on, man. First thing they tell you, sir, your car has been shut down. It's the first thing they tell you. Not that I know personal experiences, but I know this. They shut it down. That's it. So, that was very interesting. The balance of that. The dad is going through some stuff, and again, the selfishness in him. Hey, it's either me or I take everybody out with me, right? And just not being able to deal with what's going on, and his own insecurities as well. because he's living up, and that's I think him and Rick are very similar in terms of their egos, uh, kind of controlling who they are and not being just able to deal with what's in front of you. And
Mhm.
there's like, no, I'm a man. I got to handle it this way. And there's like, yeah, but you can also handle it this way. And there's an alternative to that. You don't have to let it like consume you. And both characters, what they're searching for, or what they find out, is just consuming to the point where it's just eating away at who they are as a human being, where they can't even make rational decisions. And so
Yeah.
you see that play out throughout the show, and you're just like, ugh, it was so draining. Just like, could you do it already at this point? Like, I'm just like, come on, man. No,
Right.
seriously. I'm like, it's annoying at this point. Just do it. Just do it. Just come on. Just do it. And
And
so,
then
but it's easier said than done, you know.
yeah, absolutely. And I think this is around the point where we progress to the full moon party. So we see Chloe invite Lachlan, Saxon, and Chelsea to party on a yacht to celebrate the full moon. And then at the same time, Jacqueline, Lori, and Kate end up going to the club with Valentine and his two Russian friends. So how did you feel about this episode of partying? And this is when we have the moment where Lachlan kind of has this realization where he's like, what if this life is meant for us to become better so that we're better people in the next life? And that's when Saxon is like, what? No. He's like, no, that's not what life is about. And you kind of see Lachlan starting to realize that life is more than, what his family has defined it to be. Like he's starting to get to that place where he's realizing that. And this is also the point where we see, because Saxon this entire time has been trying to have sex with Chloe and Chelsea to no avail, because both of them are happily with older men and very not interested in Saxon at all. But now we see an interest, I guess, from Chelsea's character. Oh no, from Chloe's character.
Chloe,
Yeah,
the Lex
from
younger brother.
Chloe. We see Chloe's character a little bit interested because she's like, you know what? Sometimes you just got to go have fun and have sex with a younger guy. So she's kind of open to the idea of sleeping with Saxon and Lachlan. So that kind of comes up as they head towards the yacht party and they pop some drugs into and to enjoy the night.
Yeah, and so that leads into a whole another debacle about what's going on, the brother dynamic as well as we see unfolds. Be careful when you do drugs and drink with family members. That's all I'm going to say. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen. Also, the ladies now, and I was a little concerned because I was hoping the guys were good guys in terms of like they weren't going to drug them or anything. So I love that part. They didn't make it like shady clubby, right? There's nothing worse.
Yeah, that was interesting, right? Because when you're watching it, when Jacqueline and Lori and Kate are out with Valentine and his two Russian friends, you're kind of worried. Like you see the guys go get them shots and bring them back. You're kind of like, oh God, are they going to drug these
I'm
women?
like, this is not going to be good. I'm like, no. But I think Valentine's like, hey, I work at the resort. I'm not going to shit where I eat, in terms of like messing that relationship up. I'm going to have some fun, but I'm not going to make sure these girls are going to be harmed in any way.
And so I kind of love that the writing didn't take that turn. I love that the writing went in the opposite direction, right?
These because it could have went dark. It could have. I was like, are we going really, really dark right now? And after I was like, come on, what are we doing here?
They were absolutely in control, and they actually take the Russian guys back to the resort with them at the end of the night to continue the partying. But what was interesting for me in that situation was how we were seeing a situation where Jacqueline, again, she's been constantly pushing she's been pushing Valentine on Lori and really pushing Lori to like get the attention from Valentine. But when they go out that night, post going to the resort with all the older people, we kind of see her in this space of like wanting the attention, and she's desiring the attention that she has been craving that no one's been giving to her. And she sees this group of like young women who obviously are with the Russian guys. She sees the jealousy in them, and she sees like this attention she's getting, and of course she like steals the show from Lori, and then like all the guys are all over her, which sucks because I really wanted like that attention for Lori. I really wanted her to have her moment with the
it's tough, right? You're like Lori deserves that moment, and it's just. But then Lori got her moment later. She
gets it later.
Yeah, I was like, all right, okay, I
But
see
in
you.
that moment, I was really upset because I really wanted Lori to kind of have that moment. But again, we kind of see the dynamic of the relationship between these three women, and that's kind of the history of how I feel like Jacqueline was probably always the mean girl in the friend group, and
Oh, 100%, 100%.
yeah,
And
whatever
what's
she
the
wants, she did.
mediator for the girls, right? Because they always look like they always went in back and forth with each other. And then what's name's character? Oh my god, what's her name? Kate was always the one that was like, "I'm be the mediator for these guys. Chill out. Let me," because she's the middle person that like they both feel comfortable opening up to each other, to
Yeah,
her, but not to the bigger group. And we'll touch on that later. But there was a beautiful moment between these ladies later in the show, which I
absolutely.
really like.
Absolutely. And this is the moment that leads up to all the conversation online, because we see that we move into a space where where Saxon and Lachlan are alone with Chloe, and we find out that that they have a threesome. So everyone
It
online
didn't
was
look
well.
like a threesome to me. But anyway, that's
Well, yeah, we don't really know what's happening. We know that Saxon is having sex with Chloe, and well, Lachlan is having sex with Chloe, and Saxon is on the bed, on the couch next to them while they're having sex. And that's kind of where they leave us, and we don't really know what happens. And then the morning before, uh, everyone starts to realize what actually took place. We don't really know at first. We see it from Saxon's perspective first, and we don't really know what exactly happened. We know he was in the room when Lachlan and Chloe were having sex, but we don't really know his involvement. It looks like he might have like been masturbating. We don't really know. How did you feel about that? Because I know the chatter online was crazy. Everyone was either
well. Again,
upset or
there's two scenes I've heard about, and it's the Sam Rockwell moment, and then there's this moment. And so I was like, it's one thing when you hear it, but you got to see it for yourself. So there was one about this ancestral thing that's going on, and I was like, okay, let me see what happens. And I'm like, oh, okay, because you saw two sides of it. You saw his perspective of what he thought happened, and then you find out what really happened. Like, oh, yeah. That ain't nah. You can't that ain't cool.
yeah, we see what really happened which is Lachlan reaches over and kind of gives his brother a hand job because he wants to
Finish
have
his brother off, He's like, hey, I'm a people pleaser. I want to make sure, hey, I'm doing my thing. At the same time, brother, hey, I got you.
And there's a lot of tension between Saxon and Lachlan for the rest of the day because they both are starting to
Well,
realize that.
I don't blame him. You done
Oh, of
touched
course not. Yeah, I don't blame him either.
me.
But of course, like we
But
don't.
also, as soon as you touch my stuff, I should have smacked the living daylights out of you too. So I don't know whose fault. So that's the bigger question. You, the older brother, granted, you on some drugs and stuff, but you still let me tell you something. Man, I can't. I'm gonna tell the story this way. I know somebody who was at the Abbey in LA was prepositioned with there was a couple, young couple, and had the opportunity to have a threesome. Now, the person was on Molly at the time. Person said, "Hey," they asked me. They gave me two situations. They said, "Hey, listen, the only way you can hook up is if you have sex with my husband while he's having sex with me, or he has sex with you while you have sex with me." And my friend was like, "Is there any other?"
Is there any other interracial?
He's like, "You thought about it?" He's like, "No, I don't like that. No." And again, he was like, "I was drugged up," but he was like, "I thought about it," and he was like, "Nah, there's nothing went in here." So my point is,
You're like he was able to make a sound decision.
that's what I'm saying. Make a rational decision. Just say, "No, that's not gonna work for me." So again, your brother starts touching your stuff. At some point, you gotta be like, hey, man, hey. Just saying. So some point it's gotta be your fault. No?
See, for me, yes, I do understand that, but for me, I think it was more the complexity of what the writing was trying to say, right? So it was more about the reversal of control in the circumstance, because Saxon was at a point where he was losing control of what he always had control of, which was his identity. He was starting to lose control of it because he now taken drugs, and he was
That's
like,
why he didn't want to do the drugs though, too. He was like,
he didn't, and then
I
now
don't want to be in control. I don't know. No, let them get. He was like, let the girls get messed up. You don't want to do that. You want to stay focused.
exactly. exactly. And then we also see the power dynamic shift in the relationship with him and Lachlan, because Lachlan even tells him like something to the vein of he's gonna take him down.
Well, maybe that was hold
you know,
on. Maybe that was deeper though, because maybe he found out when he did drugs in his past that another person came out, and he was afraid of that person, you know, coming out because he knew. You remember he saw them doing the drugs, and his brother was going to take the drugs, and he was like, "Nah, you don't." He was like, "No." He was adamant, "No."
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a fearful, like as if like he knew that there's another side that comes out of him when he is more relaxed and can be not himself or be his true self. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
But
But I
9
think,
times out of 10 are going to make you be who you really are. So if
yeah,
you
but I think,
on the down low, you're going to be on the down up.
but I don't think that's no. I don't think it was that. I don't think it was that. I don't think. I don't. Again, I do not think that this is my personal perspective. I do not think that this had anything to do with their sexuality at all. Like I think it was more to do with their sense of identity and their sense of self, right? Because we later learn this
But
with
their
Saxon.
identity is your sexuality, no?
No, not their identity when it involves again. His identity was built around this idea of what it means to be a man, and for him,
Yes.
what it meant to be a man was to be like constantly having sex with women and to run his father's business and be successful. But it doesn't. The gender of the sex again is not what I'm thinking matters. It was for him. It was having to be this idea of what a man is like you have to have sex with women all the time. But I don't think the again the
9 times out
sexuality.
of 10, those guys are closeted homosexuals.
No, I don't. Again, I like
Yeah.
yeah.
I understand.
For me, I'm saying I don't think that it was rooted in that. I think it was a much deeper rooted
Okay,
issue of
it's
him.
more innocent than that. Okay.
Yeah. It was a much deeper rooted issue of like identity of an identity struggle with him that wasn't rooted in sexuality. It was rooted in this a lack of connection with people because of this identity that he's built up from himself. And we later learned that too.
Later when he starts getting the books and he goes deeper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I think it kind of resolves itself in that. But and again, Lachlan is he discovers like separate parts of himself as well. Like he's like he said, it wasn't sexual. It wasn't about the sex for him. He was like, you looked lonely and you looked bored, and I'm in a house full of narcissists. So I just felt like I needed to include you. So it wasn't about him his being his brother. It wasn't about him being a man. It wasn't about any of that. It was just like, oh, my brother looks bored. Let me
There's so many ways to make him inclusive. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But again, maybe that's the innocence of his character and so young, being like, oh, I only know what, this is the only way I know how to do it.
Exactly.
Hey, why don't you come over here, bro? And be like, put a hand on a boob. Like, try something different.
Yeah.
That's all.
And then and then to your other point, you brought in the conversation of Sam Rockwell's character, because Rick ends up going to Bangkok because he finds out that the man who he thinks is responsible for his father's death, who is the owner of the resort, he finds out he's in Bangkok. So he goes to Bangkok, where his friend has been staying for some time, and that's Sam Rockwell. Do you know the character's name?
Yes, I do.
His name is Frank. You have it written down.
Frank.
Huh? And Frank, we meet Frank.
I have detailed notes.
You had your notes typed.
That's what we do. That's what we do here. Blackfilm.com. That's what we're doing.
But you know what's so crazy to me? That moment to me was like really what solidified for me that I was like on the right path of understanding what the theme of the show was, right? Because he gives this whole speech about the journey of identity. And it was like such a pivotal moment. It was like that marker in the show that was like, this is what this is all about. How did you feel about that moment?
Well, see, I heard about it online first, so it spread on Instagram left and right. And so when I finally saw it, it gives it more context, because otherwise you're just seeing like a scene that's great. But so I heard that supposedly Walter Goggins' character, they didn't even tell him that they were going to do that. The actor, they didn't tell him. They said, hey, Sam Rockwell's going to be in the scene, but you don't know what it is. So when you see his face, you're actually seeing like, what the hell are you talking about? And so, but that's even a deeper conversation too, of like Sam Rockwell talking about, the vulnerability of like wanting to feel that, or wanting just to feel like you belong to something and understand what that person feels like. So I was like, okay, I'm with you on the levels. And then he's like, I was like, whoa, okay. So it was like, it was interesting. It was like, okay, I'm with you now, and you see Rick's character like, okay, that makes sense. Oh, that makes sense. You're like, wait a minute, now you're dressing up as females and you're having guys rail you. What the hell are we talking about?
It
And
was
he's like, yeah. So I stopped drinking and more about Buddha and just like everything. And I'm like,
but it was a great
yeah,
story because really what he was saying, he made it very clear. He was like, when I came to Thailand, I lived up to this idea that most Americans have, where like we're supposed to drink and have sex with as many Asian people, as many Thai people as possible. So he drank and he had sex with all the Thai women every night. And then he did it so much that he was like, is this who I am? Or do I
yeah.
really want to be an Asian
Is that
woman?
identifying? Is that identifying me because I'm able to do this all the time?
Right. And then he saw himself and identified in a different way. And then it progressed from there until he realized that none of it mattered. And I thought it was really like a really nice way to like put a stamp on it to say like this is what it's all about. And it's at this point, each character really needed to understand like you have to let go of this construct of self-identity, and if you don't, you're going to like go down a road of pain and hell in life until you figure out that none of it matters. It was like really that moment that was like tying it all together. Like we see all the characters struggling
Yeah,
with
it's a
it in
pinnacle
a
moment.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like that moment that we get to like hear it verbalized for the first time, like in a very plain way.
Let
It
me
was
ask you this: as an actor, you get a screen, you get a setup like that. That's a dream of all dreams, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. From an actor's perspective, when
oh,
you get something
absolutely.
like that, like that's like, oh, it's your time to shine, baby. This is it. Talk about that. Like
Yeah,
when
on
you saw that,
multiple.
what went through your head as an actor, like when you saw like, oh wow, this is your monologue, you get to do whatever the hell you want. Like, that's crazy, right? Like what does that mean for you as an actor when you get something like that?
On multiple levels for me it was like powerful because while his role was very small in the grand scheme of this season, it was so pivotal in like the telling of the story, right? So for me, like, because that monologue was so important to like the through line or the thread of the whole story, it was such a big moment. And I think he's married to Leslie Bibb, right?
Yeah.
Who plays Kate. And she talked about this on like on the after show podcast, which I'm so obsessed with this season. I watch the after show podcast every single time. But she talked about how like he wanted to take she knew that they wanted to offer him the role, and she didn't know if he was going to take it because she just knows how he is, because he's uber successful.
He was
And but
also like a method actor too. He does his own kind of like,
yeah,
like
and she knew, and they both knew how pivotal this part was to like the overall story of this season. So it was interesting like watching that, because if you get something that meaty and that is that important to the through line of the show, like, and it's going to be one of those big moments. He had to know when
he
he
can
read.
get a nomination just based on that alone.
Oh
Like
my
that's
god, I hope
that's
so.
crazy. Like you can get a nomination just for that. That's it.
To
Those
be able to
dialogue.
like to dive into that kind of experience, it just is a dream. Is a dream for sure.
There you go. See, we go deep here. That's what we do here. That's what we do. All right, let's bring it home. Let's bring it home.
Yeah. So then later we then find out that he's able to convince Frank to that he needs his support to go have a conversation with the owner of the hotel at his house in Bangkok. So he convinces him to go there with him. He needs someone to pretend to be a movie director because the wife is an actress, and he's told her that he was bringing a big director to the house, and this was his moment to confront the man who he believes is responsible for killing his father. So we transition to that. We can just skip to that because I know we've been talking for almost an hour and a half, so let's just go ahead and skip to that.
So this is our scene. We've been waiting for this the whole entire show. He's literally traveled all the way to Thailand, Bangkok, to find out or kill the person who has killed his father. And so this is the moment he set everything up. The wife, Saratala Hollinger, it was an old, I guess, a Thailand former actress. She's played in numerous things, so she's a big name. And so yeah, Sarita. And so they get a chance to get into the house. And the plan is, Frank is going to talk to the wife about setting everything up, and Rick's going to take the husband away to another room and either have a conversation or do what he came here to do. So he's not sure, and Frank's not even sure because he originally brought him a gun so that he could kill the guy, and he didn't want to be involved. But now he's like, you know what? I'm not going to kill the guy anymore. So Frank's believing that Rick doesn't have a gun, but we find out Rick does have a gun. So he convinced Jim Hollander to go to the other room and talk about his business and how he's being successful. And then they open up about what's going on. And then it gets real to the point where Rick is like, I might kill this guy right here now. Because he starts calling his mom a crazy bitch. And, I don't know. What are you talking about? Your father was a mess and da-da-da, hearing all this stuff. And so he's at that point where he's just like, I can do it. But he realized he's such an old and fragile man that he just literally kicks him over in the chair, which I thought spoke more volumes than anything. No, seriously, that's deep, right? And I don't know if it wasn't for earlier in the show where he actually his girlfriend books him with one of the meditation teachers, and that kind of I think helped him in that moment so much that he needed that meditation lady again later in the show. But that helped him kind of like, you know what am I doing? Like, why am I here? This old man, like, regardless of what happened, he's so fragile. Just kick him over. Let's get out of here. So he kicks him over in the chair, and then they got to run out of the place. And that was interesting. I didn't know it was going to be a shootout or they were going to do it. It was like a getaway. And he's like, all right, we got to go. I think he fell in there. We got to go. Get out of here. And so all these things kind of happen in one, and it's just left for that. And you don't know what's going to happen later. But now we're in our last episode, and everybody's got to come together, right? We have, we hope that Rick's kind of dealt with his dad's issue. It seems like he has. He runs.
We got to lead up to the other people's.
Well, that's what I'm bring home. So he's coming back. He comes to the arms of Chelsea. But now the dad, we're getting to one day left at the hotel. The dad's trying to figure out what's going on with, does he still want to kill himself? Or is he going to take the whole family out as their last dinner?
But we skipped a little bit. That's what I was saying.
I'm getting back to the ladies.
No, we skipped with the family. So the family went to after the brothers had the interaction on the boat with the two ladies. They ended up going to the Buddhist retreat. There you go. The whole family goes to the Buddhist retreat together because they want to. The mom is like, let's all go because we want to see what it's like. If she's going to be here for a year, living in Taiwan, which is what she called it, then we need to go check it out. And her whole intention, the mom, Parker Posey, who plays Victoria, her whole intention is to have the daughter see the experience there and change her mind about it. Because she's like,
brilliant.
She's a rich girl. There's no way in the world she's going to stay here with no air conditioning and no seasoning on her food. It's not going to happen. They go there. The dad goes in to meet the Buddhist, to meet him, and he asks his own personal questions, and he comes out. That was another great moment as well for me, where the Buddhist tells him, he gives him the whole description of how life is like, when a drop of water comes up from the ocean, and then when we die, we join back into the ocean. So death isn't a bad thing. It's like a return home. So then this is when we see the father kind of come to terms with the idea of death. He's like, okay, death is not a bad thing. Death is a return home. So it's not such a bad thing. And we also, then he asks Victoria, he's like, can you live without all of this? And Victoria says, no, there's no way I can live without being rich. Like, it won't happen. And that's when he fantasizes about killing her as well. And then he asks Saxon, he's like, Saxon, can you live without all of this? Saxon's like, absolutely not. We've built this empire together. This is my whole identity is wrapped around the business and you. So then he fantasizes about killing himself, killing Victoria, and killing Saxon. And that just leaves Piper and Lachlan, because then now he probably has an okay chance of leaving something good behind in the world with Lachlan and Piper, because those two seem to be on the right path. Piper wants to move to Thailand to be Buddhist.
I'm going to kill Piper too.
Not yet. That's why I was saying we hadn't built up to the last episode yet for everyone else, only for that one portion. And then at the same time, when they come back, so Piper and Lachlan stay at the retreat overnight. And then when they come back home the next day, that's when he asks Piper, "What do you think?" And Piper's like, "Can't do it. I thought I could do it, but I cannot do it. I'm a horrible person. I'm a princess. I don't want to be, but I have to have air conditioning. I can't do it. Like, I cannot do this." So then he fantasizes, okay, now I got to kill her too. And then he asks Lachlan, "Can you live without all of this?" And Lachlan says, "Yeah, absolutely. I don't need this." And that's when we realize like Lachlan is the one saving grace in his life. If he has to leave one thing behind, he knows he can leave a legacy of something positive in the world because he created one thing in this world that is good, and that's Lachlan. So he created one thing that's good in this world. So I think that kind of leads up to the final episode with that family. And then with Gaitak and Mook, Gaitak is able to sneak into their suite while they're away at the Buddhist retreat. He finds the gun and he takes the gun back. So now we know that Gaitak has the gun back.
Which again, Gaitak should have been fired by this time. At this point on the show, should have been fired just for mishandling everything.
So we find out he can't even kill the family anyway because Tim has lost the gun. So Gaitak found the gun. So now Tim can't even murder his whole family because the gun is gone. And then with the three friends, Lori, we find out that Jacqueline sleeps with Valentine. Yep. He comes back after the party at the retreat. He sleeps with Jacqueline, then he leaves. So Lori confronts Jacqueline, and Jacqueline's like, "What are you talking about? I would never do that. I'm in a relationship." And she's like, "Bitch, you're lying. You slept with them. We all know you did it. Just tell the truth." And of course, Kate can't confront her because she can't be honest about it. And Kate is like, "No, let's not do this." Like you said, she's the mediator. No, let's not fight. Let's not have
people please at the end of the day, right? Yeah. She doesn't want to make anybody upset. I don't want anybody mad at me.
She didn't do it. She didn't do it.
I'll just vote this way. That's all.
So then Lori decides to go off on her own. She goes out to a Thai fight with the other Russian guys and Valentine. She goes to the fight and ends up going home with one of the Russian guys and sleeping with him. And this is when we find out that the Russian guys are actually the ones that robbed the boutique, because as she's sneaking out of his apartment when his girlfriend comes home, we see all of the jewelry that they stole from the boutique in his closet. So
also, the gangster part is this dude trying to hit her up for 10 grand after he hit it. I was like, yo, that is gangster. Like, you can PayPal me, Venmo. I was like, yeah.
He's like, PayPal, Venmo, whatever you need.
Yeah, whatever you need. Yeah, you can wire the money, no?
Oh my God.
You're rich, no? You're rich.
Oh, but she was gonna get out of that apartment without paying that money.
Yeah, one way or another. Like, yo, that's not happening. Like, even the finesse of asking for 10 grand, I was like, damn, bro. I was like, you're just raw with it. Like, at least, like, hey, I'm in a situation, blah blah. Yeah, you got 10 grand. Like, and so that was another scene when she was walking home. I was like, oh my God, please let her get home safe. I'm still waiting for something to happen to these ladies. Like, walking, I'm like, okay, everybody make it home safe. All right, cool. She gets back safe, which was like, all right, now the characters, we have this last day. Let's close it out.
Oh, and Belinda, we also have to go back because Belinda, this is another big storyline. Belinda, who ends up having a tryst with one of the guys at the hotel who she's like shadowing. They end up forming a relationship, and they decide, hey, maybe we can open up our own spot together here in Thailand. We can figure it out. We'll make it work. Let's do it together. And in that span of time, they end up having an intimate relationship. And then that's when her son Zion comes back into town, and he catches them in bed together, which is like, he's happy for it. He's like, do your thing.
I'll see y'all come back.
Do your thing, mama. But at the same time, this is when Greg invites them back to the house and says, hey, I want everybody to come to the house. And he specifically wants Belinda to come back to the house. And we think maybe he's going to try to kill Belinda at the party at his house because there's no other reason for him really to invite her back.
I'm thinking he's poisoning everybody because also he's inviting the kids back that had sex with his girlfriend. And so he's like, I'm thinking he's going to poison everybody at dinner, and then everybody's going to...
He's offing everybody at the house.
Right? I'm like, there's no way I'm inviting everybody over that I want, that I don't like, You know, but I don't know. It was very weird.
But I'm going to say I'm very proud of myself. I guessed all of the major twists that were going to happen. I did. I can prove it to you. So,
I
interestingly
love when
enough,
you're like, you know what? I'm so good at this. I just,
I,
bro, I
so,
knew, bro.
so when he invites her back to the house, we find out that he's not inviting her back to the house to kill her, but he is offering to invest the money that his former wife Tanya, who mysteriously died, had originally offered to provide to Belinda for her to open the spa. So he agrees to give her $100,000, but he offers to give her $100,000 to support her opening her spa. And her, you know, she says she has to think about it. She has to leave and walk away. And at the same time, Chloe approaches Saxon and lets him know her husband's not upset at the fact that they had sex, that she had sex with Lachlan. In fact, he wants to watch because he has this thing where his whole life he's struggled with this. He walked in on his parents having sex and he's had trauma from that. And now he wants to watch his wife have sex with another man. And that's kind of like the thing that's driving his motivation in the moment. So he wants to set up the circumstance where he walks in on Saxon having sex with his wife. To which Saxon says,
that too. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it.
Not gonna do it. And then he goes back to the hotel, and this is where we, I think, see growth in Saxon's character, where he figures out the path to a better identity for himself, or the path to letting go of this identity for himself. He goes back to the hotel and he sees Chelsea. She gives him a book to read, and she tells him.
Also, don't leave out. I'm sorry to cut you up, but the walk back, he questions Chelsea and like, hey, you know, why don't you like me? Like, what's going on? And that opens up the conversation for them to go back and and then, which was interesting. They're on the bed together and they're like looking into each other's eyes and they're trying to get. He wants to get to the spiritual level, and at the same time, she's like, yeah, I don't think you're able to do that. And she gets a connection with him like right off the bat, and I'm like. She's like, you gotta go. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what you made about connections is really like what are we talking about?
Which was so important, and this is why I'm gonna tell you why.
You finish your thing. I was like, what
the reason I thought this was so genius, right? So she tells him that the reason she couldn't sleep with him is because it would have been empty because there's no emotional connection, and she doesn't have empty sex with people. And he starts to realize maybe there is some truth to what she's saying, and that he can have an experience with a person where he actually connects with the person. And we start to see the evolution of Saxon's character, where he's realizing that there's more to him than this identity he's built for himself. But for her, again, her big flaw is that her identity is wrapped around her fiance. Her whole world identity is being the girlfriend of this troubled man, and she can't even let that go. And when the opportunity presents itself with Saxon for her to let go of this abusive person who really she doesn't have that great of a connection with, that she's just created this identity around, she even brushes off a real connection with Saxon because she wants to keep herself in this identity of being the girlfriend of the troubled man. Like, that is why I was telling everybody from the beginning, there's something very flawed about Chelsea, because she's already had 2 brushes with death because of him. Like, she's already had it. And she keeps saying over and over again, I'm going to be with you until we die. I'm going to hunt you from the afterlife because I'm never going to be without you. I'm always going to be there. I'm always going to be with you. I'm never going to let you go.
To her own detriment.
To her own detriment. And that is the big flaw of Chelsea. Like, she cannot let go of being the girlfriend of the troubled man. Even when the perfect opportunity to have a connection with this person who she taught to be able to open up and have a connection with someone presents itself. Even when Chloe told her before, like, you're in this relationship that's not fruitful, like, have sex with this boy, like, and just see the world from a different perspective. And she can't let go of it. Even when he ran away, went to Bangkok, left her by herself, she still could not detach herself from her connection, which was her big flaw. Which leads us to the finale.
We finally got here, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
long show. No. Your fault. It's a long show. That's why I said, hey, when you said you want to pick it, I'm like, you sure you want to do this? Show.
I love it. I'm obsessed with it. I think it's so genius the way the show was written. So we finally get to this finale episode, which is extremely anticipated at this point. Everybody's talking about it because we've had a roller coaster ride, which started off a little slow, then sped up and got crazy, and then slowed down a little bit. So we make it to this finale episode, and like I said, we know someone dies. We know at least one person dies because we see the body floating. Zion sees the body floating in the water on episode 1. So we know that something happens. We hear the gunshots going off. So we know that there's multiple shots that ring out at the resort. We know there's a couple of guns that exists because we know the security have guns. We know that Guytak has a gun. So we know that there are guns floating around the resort. And we start to see resolutions from the very beginning of the episode. We take this journey, right, with each of the groups of characters as we start to progress into the stories, and we take this journey with all of them. We can start with the Ratliffs because
you want to go down the list of everybody or how it unfolds on the show?
How would you like to do it? You do it because you probably haven't mapped out how it happens on the show.
I don't. Like I just have the characters, but yeah. Let's
just. So we start off with the Ratliffs, right? And Tim has made the decision that he's going to kill everyone except for Lachlan, because Lachlan is the only one who is good, who has professed that he can live life free of this identity of like wealth and success. He's the only one who could like live life without that. So because he doesn't have the gun, he figures out another way. We are introduced to the fruit of this poison tree on the very first episode. We're introduced to the fruit of the poison tree. The seeds of the fruit are extremely poisonous. And throughout the show, we see Saxon making protein shakes. He requests a blender be brought to the hotel room so he can make his protein shakes. So Tim decides to poison the family by making everyone poison pina coladas. So he requests that they send pina colada mix to the suite. And it's kind of perfect because Lachlan is the only one who's underage who can't drink. So he makes protein shakes he makes pina coladas with the poison seeds for everyone. And as they all start to drink it, he realizes that this is not the way. And he slaps the drinks out of everyone's hands and decides to save his family. And
the milk went bad. The milk went bad. Coconut milk bad.
The coconut milk is bad. He decides this is not the way to go. He's going to come clean and he's going to just figure out a way to make it work. So he saves his family from poisoning themselves. But the next morning, tragically, Lachlan wakes up and decides to make himself a protein shake. And they had not cleaned out the blender. So as the family starts to go ahead.
This is some nasty ass stuff, by the way, people. Wash out the blender from the
night. Wash out the blender.
What are we doing? What are we doing? You still going to blender pina coladas the night before? It's such a kid though to do that. Such a kid, lazy. Just rinse the thing out. 2 seconds, save your life. 2 seconds.
And you put poisonous food in the blender.
Like and even the dad, like he should have washed it out from the night before to make sure. Like, what are we doing?
You went to bed with poison juice in the blender. I was so annoyed. I was like, wash out the damn blender. I was screaming at the TV.
What are we doing?
So poor Lachlan decides for the first time to make himself a protein shake because he's used to his brother making it for him, but because him and his brothers, their relationship is he now makes his own protein shake with the poison seed in the blender, and he gets sick and dies by the pool. But we see him departing life and floating up to heaven, and he sees 4 figures. We don't know if the 4 figures are his family or what they are, but as he gets closer to them, we realize that it's the Buddhists that he's seeing as he ascends from to the afterlife. And the mom and the siblings have gone to breakfast, and the dad is still sleeping. They've said, let him sleep. He's tired. He's had a long night. And he wakes up and he finds his son by the pool, dead from drinking his protein shake. And then we progress to the 3 friends, Lori, Kate, and Jacqueline. Lori comes back. They all go to breakfast together. And Lori has a moment and she tells them that she's realized that none of it matters, that the most important thing is the connection that she has and the relationships that she has right now. Nothing else matters. So they all start to figure out that stripping themselves of this identity that they've all built for themselves, or this identity that they've kind of defined their world by, or their worldview, the lens that they've defined their worldview through. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is moment to moment with each other that they're having right now. So it was a beautiful moment between the three friends. What did you think about that?
Yeah, like I said earlier, that was a deep moment because you're just getting everything off your chest and being honest and real with who you are as a person and what your friendships mean to you. And if you really do care about those bonds and friendships, then you'll put the time in. And so she really came, deep. And also Jacqueline was like, you know what? My bad too. She owned it as well. And so that's
Yeah.
the big thing when people take like, thank you, you should apologize. But then no, Jacqueline's like, you know what? I love you too. I'm sorry. I should have been better at this. And I was selfish in my own mind. And so that was a deep moment that I wish more people would have those open and honest conversations with each other, because the world would probably be a better place. But it sometimes takes it to you getting to the point of like this brink of like so much frustration. You're looking into yourself like, why am I frustrated? Is it me, or is it did everything? Usually when somebody says something about you and it hits a chord, is because there's some truth behind it, right? And sometimes it's delivery of how you took it versus were you ready to accept that? Oh yeah, I mess up there, but am I really ready to accept that I'm a mess up because of that? And so I like that she was really like, hey, I am a hot mess, but I am working on things, and there's no perfect answer or solution. You have religion in your eyes. I don't. That's not for me. My religion is just living every day. And so and that was a deep, even what she said. I was like, that was her monologue to be like, hey, let me own this character. And she really did a great job. She really brought
Yeah,
that character home.
absolutely. And then we go back to Belinda and Zion's character. They go back to Greg's house to renegotiate the terms of the deal.
Renegotiate, bro. When I was like renegotiate, you went from $100,000 to. I was like, wait, what? And,
Well,
and I was like, I was like, wait, what?
well, so they had went back and agreed that, hey, let's go back and tell him I'll do the deal if he gives me $1 million. Right.
Yes.
So that was what they agreed on. So Belinda and her son Zion say, we'll go back to Greg. We'll tell him we'll take the money, but it's got to be $1 million. $100,000 isn't enough to do anything. If he agrees to $1 million, great, let's do it. If not, let's run, because he's probably gonna kill me anyway.
Yeah, and any good black mom, like, I don't want to play with this white man like this. He might kill me. He's like, Mom, I got you. I'm like,
It's like, I got you. I got a business degree. I got this. So they go to Greg's house. They sit down with Greg, and immediately Zion says, hey, I've done the research. I Googled you. I know you walked away. I know how much you walked away with. You walked away with $500 million. What's 1%? We won $5 million. Belinda almost chokes on her own spit.
I did too. I was eating. I was like, what'd you say?
And he's like, Greg is like, absolutely not. But Zion is like, hey, I got this. Belinda's like, okay, I'm gonna walk away. And I love that when she did walk away and Zion comes after her, she's like, go back in and get that money. Make him think I'm crazy. Go back and get that money. So she wasn't expecting the 5 million, but she ain't see him flinch at all when he said that number. So she's like, you know what? Let's go for it. And so they tell him wire the money to us, and we'll see we'll see what happens. So then they walk away with the expectation that he's going to wire them $5 million to start the business.
Ain't no way.
She checks her account in the morning, and the money is there.
And I also love that mother and son dynamic. And just like, hey, Ma, I did this for you, even though you're doing this for us, and it was a great thing. What I didn't like though is that now she got the money. It was like, forget love, forget trying to do business. I want to just feel how it feels to be rich and just enjoy that a little bit. I'm just saying, you found a genuine person that just doesn't even know your situation. For you to just be like, cut it cold off, that's the only thing. You don't have to go crazy, but just see where it goes. You never know. Anyway.
But I think this also goes back to the kind of overarching idea of what the show is about. This idea of like abandoning the identity we've created for ourselves, right? And I think that Belinda's character has always been a person who's like the giver, right? She's always the person who's providing a service for someone. She never really has a moment to take care of herself.
Yeah, I never had the moment. Yeah, she
never has that moment. And when she meets Porn Chai, she's like, I've met this guy. He's great. I'm into him. he wants to open up a spa. Is that really what she wants? Does she really want to just move from being the person who runs a spa to the person who now owns a spa, and her whole life is still centered around serving people? I think she'd like, and she says it like, I just be rich for a minute, like.
Yeah.
And I think that was the idea for her, like her shedding this identity of herself always being the caregiver. And so she had to let that go and sail away into the sunset on a yacht in Thailand. And I love that for her.
Take me
I love
away.
that moment for her. And I'm glad she figured that out. So we're at the point where we know, like, she's figured out this journey of self-discovery comes with shedding that identity. The friend group, they figure out it comes that success and joy comes from shedding this identity. So we're starting to see the pattern of these people figuring it out, and they're finding like joy and happiness in their existence. Then we move to Chloe and Rick. Now, so he goes to Bangkok to confront. I'm going to mess up her name again.
That's tough names. Probably toughest name ever on the page.
Sritala, and her husband. They come back from Bangkok. What's the husband's name?
Jim Hollander.
So they come back. Jim and Sritala come back to the resort from Bangkok, and we think that everything's going to be okay, because we believe that Rick has like kind of gotten his resolution from the experience. He's a bit frustrated though because of the way that it went down. He's insulting his mother. There's really no resolution to the storyline. You know, the solution of what happened with his father. And he sees them there because Jacqueline has agreed to take a photo with them at the resort. And in the process of doing so, Rick sees them. He sees him there at the resort. And I think it brings back up all the issues he has. He runs over to see if he can speak to the meditation specialist, but she's busy because she has an appointment booked with Zion. And it's so crazy because had she just taken the moment to say, my crazy client looks crazy-eyed, maybe I should tell Zion to wait 5 minutes and go have some meditation.
That's what I'm saying. It's money booking over like doing your job. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not on call 24/7. I'm like, well, you don't see like you know like I'm losing it right now. I'm telling you, I'm losing it right now.
I'm losing it.
Just give me 5 minutes. I can't.
Like, I just need 5 minutes.
That's it. I mean, listen, and that's another thing to remind everybody to slow down sometimes. You never know what that extra 2 seconds you give somebody could have changed their whole life.
Yeah.
It could change your life. You know, you could have prevented something from happening because you just gave somebody an extra couple of minutes of your time. So you never know.
So he sees Sritala, and the husband's name again, I'm so bad.
It is Jim.
Jim and Sritala are taking pictures with Jacqueline, and Rick is overwhelmed by his anger and his frustration and all the things that he's built up that he's never been able to let go. This identity that he's built for himself, which is the kid who lost his father. He can't let go of it. And he sees Jim and he sees the gun on the security guards and he goes for it. And Chloe, of course, Chelsea, of course, follows after him like the puppy dog she is, because she has to save her man. And he grabs the gun. He goes up to Jim and he shoots and kills Jim. That's the first gunshot that we heard ring out. And then the gunshots to fire are Jim's security guards, who immediately jump into action and they start to shoot back at Rick, who has now, and Chelsea's now behind him. They're hiding behind a giant gong, trying to dodge the bullets. And Gaitak now has grabbed the gun and he's coming towards the action because he hears everything going down. Of course, he's made this decision that he wants to live a life of peace and nonviolence. He actually ran into Valentine earlier and confronts Valentine to let him know, I know you guys robbed the store. Valentine begs him, please, we're going to get deported back to Russia. If you tell anyone, please don't. We just need the money.
You probably thought about that before you did that. You know, that's
absolutely. But he chooses peace, and he's like, I'm going to let it go because I'm going to choose peace. The gunshots ring out. He grabs the gun and he heads towards the shootout. And then it's revealed. You said what?
Fired. You should be fired.
Fired. It's revealed that someone else has also been killed or hit by a bullet, and that's Chelsea. Chelsea has been hit by a stray bullet from one of the security guards as they were hiding out behind the gong, which is so tragic because right before this, Rick lets her know that he wants to be with her for the rest of his life. And he's figured out that that's the space he wants to be in. But again, he's so overwhelmed by his grief. His ego, that he lets his ego get in the way and he loses the one thing he loves the most. And we find out that the man he's murdered, Jim, is actually his father. So, which I also predicted.
You know what you should do? I need you to submit this before we go. Yeah.
Oh, I have it in text.
Bingo! I got it again. Look. B7 got it again. Look.
I have it in my text group. But then Rick picks up Chelsea and tries to take her to safety, and Shritala sees Gaitak and says, "Stop that guy!"
She's like, "Shoot that mother!"
And he's chosen a life of nonviolence. But is he going to break out of this identity he's built for himself? He decides
shoot him! Shoot him!
He shoots and kills Rick. So now we have Rick and Chelsea dead, floating in the pond. The two security guards have been shot and killed. That's who Zion sees floating in the pond in the beginning. And Jim has also been killed, who is we found out is his actual father. And the one saving grace is that Lachlan does not die. He wakes up from being slightly poisoned by the fruit that he mixed up in his the seeds that were the residual seeds that were left in the blender that he made the protein shake with, and he wakes up in his father's arms and he tells him, "I think I just saw God." So what do you think overall? What is your takeaway? What are your major feelings walking away from this series?
I think we were really long in this show tonight.
Well, we did a whole season of a show.
I mean, we did a season before.
We should have been episode by episode.
I think we did like 10. We've done 10 episodes before, which is the longest 7 I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, for my first, now I want to watch the other ones. But for my first White Lotus, I think there should be a Black Lotus. Hear me out. I'm just saying.
I love it.
Tyler Perry. I need a Black Lotus, Tyler. Tyler Perry needs a Black Lotus.
Let's do it.
Anyway, Black Resort, like Soul Plane, but it's like Black. Anyway, that's different. But no, I thought it was really great. Deep character development, which I loved, and you get to see the growth of the characters as well, whether it be good or bad. Frustrating areas. I mean, every episode had you intrigued because you're just like, what the hell's going to happen next? So I really love that about this. So again, I'm all in. For someone who's never seen the show, my first season 3 was my first encounter with this. So I really did enjoy it. And I said, I laid down, just watched the rest of them. I was like, boom, 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 boom. That's how you do it, though. That's how you should do it. You don't wait till it's come on next week. I want to watch them all at once. Do they usually come all out at once, or no? They come every week?
It comes out every week.
I'm so glad I watched it late. Oh, I'm so glad. I hate waiting for this. Sometimes I thought about it, and I was like, do I enjoy back-to-backs, or do I enjoy, like, I got to wait every week? Because this life happens, and then you're like, all I need is one episode to take me out of the show, and then I don't care about it anymore. So I like that I have it back-to-back. I can just go, okay, that was a tough episode, but let me give you one more. I'm like, I'm back in. That makes sense?
Yeah. I think, what's interesting? I agree, but for some reason, I really enjoyed the anticipation of waiting.
No, I do. But sometimes it could be that one episode. If it's a new series, it's usually that one episode you're like, and now you're turned off just for a little bit. But if I have it already done, I can power through it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I think the only reason I was so excited week to week because I started literally having like viewing parties for it. I was so invested in this season of White Lotus. I just really loved it that much. And then I just thoroughly enjoyed like having conversations with people post each show to really like break down the episode and really like dive deep into like the character development. It was just so well done. This season has me so motivated to even write more. And I think Mike White just did such a great job with this show that I'm literally obsessed. I'm obsessed.
You see? Obsessed, everybody. Obsessed. What do you give it? What do you give it, Rob?
Oh, I give it a 10 out of 10.
Oh, that's right, baby. Yeah. And that's how you close it, everybody. Robbie giving it 10 out of 10.
2 thumbs up.
Thank you, Rob, for taking over doing the heavy lifting. You know, it's not easy sometimes. So we appreciate you for that. Next week,
I should have had notes typed out with photos and character names.
Listen, because it was so many characters, I was like, I didn't want to be like, oh, and Don, oh fuck, you know, I would have been all over like yeah. Not knocking you, but you know.
Oh my god! Well,
yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Well, I did have it typed out. I just wasn't referencing my notes.
Okay, right.
That was my problem. That's the problem. I was trying to just be like, oh, I could do it off the cuff.
I was gonna do like when they do investigations and they have like ropes and like the lines connected to this. I was gonna I was literally like, yeah. Then you go look at the back. Now this person here, you see, I didn't have enough time for that.
I wish there was like a what do you call the things where you like can bet on what's gonna happen?
Oh yeah, you can do. Yeah, man, I'm sure there's got to be a show like a Lotus, but I don't think they would do that because you can definitely rig it because you know it'd have to be something. Hey, we're gonna go public with this before we let everybody know the actors and stuff. You know what it is.
Because I predicted the 3 major things and I was right. I was so proud of myself. So I just wish I'd have bet some money on it. I'd have made a little money.
Your friend bets. Well, once again, Rob, thank you for your time today.
Thank you for spending 2 hours with me to talk about.
Hey, you could have been anywhere in the world, but I'm here with you. And that was great. Sinners,
midnight there, huh?
No, it's going to bed. Sinners next week.
Yes. Okay. Yes, and I also watched The Woman in the Yard.
See, ladies and gentlemen, I ask him to do stuff all the time, and then he's like, can't do it, and he does do it.
I watched it. I thought we were watching it.
I'll see both. We'll do both next week. Woman in the Yard and Sinners.
Boom. 2 scary ones.
There you go. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate you. This has been another production of blackfilm.com. Rewind with Ro. See you next week.